Hello, love, and welcome home. This is Coming Home with Mama T, and I'm your host, Mama T. And on this podcast, we explore the journey of coming home to ourselves, meaning becoming more and more self-aware, understanding who we are and what we want to experience in this life. Today, we want to talk about distraction. Okay. Distraction has really been coming up over the last couple of days in my life. And I was pulling cards for myself and I got this card and it was basically you're being distracted. Don't get sucked into the distraction of what's going on around you. And I was a bit taken aback because I have been having so many pulls that are just you're on point, your success is in your future, you're doing the thing, go, very cheerleadery, right? And so I was just wait, what? Distraction? What are you talking about? And in the moment I was feverishly am I being distracted by this message? Am I being what is distracting me? And I decided chill, it'll all reveal itself in due time. And I went took a nap, relaxed, whatever, and it kind of just hit me on a grand scale. So often we might lose sight of what it is that we are desiring, or we find ourselves adjusting our desires based off of what we believe we can achieve. And so I want to say, one, when it comes to changing up our desire, I feel yes, it's totally cool to change your path and change your course and whatever, but I don't want it to feel like a sacrifice, okay, well, I didn't succeed at the audition, so I might as well just never act again or whatever. Unless you're just you know what, I actually don't really want this. I was only doing it because to fill a void, do whatever, this isn't really what's lighting me up. Actually, I found something else that really makes me more excited. Then go for it, right? That's when we shift directions. It's funny because right before I started this podcast, I got a message and it was said, believe in yourself and believe in your dreams. Follow them. Never give up. That's the most important thing. If you believe you can get there, then one day you will. So this is your reminder that you need to believe in yourself. You need to focus in on what it is that you desire and don't allow yourself to get distracted. What can distraction look like? So I have noticed that as I set intentions for things, what will show up for me sometimes is in similar alignment to what I'm desiring, but not necessarily what my desire is. And I notice within myself that oftentimes if something shows up for me that I am super excited about, I'm super desiring or whatever, something that shows up that's in alignment with it, not it, right? Let's say, I don't know, it's when you are looking at, there's those memes that pop up and it's what you wanted to order and then the wish version of it or something like that, right? And so what you wanted to order is this beautiful, wonderful, miraculous thing, and then the wish version is just a knockoff. And I feel a lot of times when I am within my life, things will show up and I'm seeing it more as this is an immediate response from my intention that it is possible. It's not what you want, but hey, here's a reminder. Because I used to just be jump on the first thing that comes. Maybe I'm oh man, I really wish I had a boyfriend or whatever. And then some guy is oh, you're pretty, or you're whatever. And I'm oh, okay. And try to go after it, right? And it's don't even stop to think do I even want to be with this person or whatever. It's just oh, this is the first, I'm almost desperate, right? It's oh, okay, first thing that comes into my sphere that is similar to what I asked for, I'm gonna just run after it. And it really, I feel it's not like we're being tested. I hate that idea that like God, source, universe is testing you and like you've done something bad, because it feels like you've done something wrong and you have to prove yourself. There's no proving yourself. I want you to think of it more as like opportunities are showing up for you, right? And opportunities show up in my life, and some are easier than others, right? And I think whatever we believe in, that's like not even a second thought. There's not even like, it's like so ingrained in our subconscious that like, oh yeah, totally can get that. Like that's like not even a question. When things like that show up, it's just like whatever. So a lot of the things that might be immediate for us are the things that are so like easily received in our sphere, in our mindset, and our beliefs. So that'll show up, and we get to choose whether or not we want to engage in it or like wait for something that's actually what we really desire. And that's what I'm talking about when it comes to distraction. Are we just accepting the first thing that comes up because maybe we don't believe in ourselves to get exactly what we want? Maybe we're afraid if we don't take the first train that there's not going to be another one coming along the way. Like whatever it is, right? Whatever it is that is keeping you from going after exactly what you want and putting you in a space of compromise or settling, which tends to put you in a space of sacrificing your desires for whatever might be easier, more comfortable, more believable, any of those things. So again, those are the distractions. There are opportunities to show us that like, hey, this is in our capacity. This is like already in your wheelhouse. And also you can have more. You can have more. So be aware, like, oh, cool. Like I said, I wanted to buy a new car, and all of a sudden you pass by, like, there's like a used car dealership that just shows up. Like you're driving down the road and you're like, I think I need a new car, whatever. Used car dealership shows up. Not necessarily saying you need to pull into that used car dealership. It's just saying like, hey, we heard you. Hey, you're on the right track. Like you got this. Let's keep going. Let's keep excavating. Not saying you can't go into the used car dealership, but like if you go in and the guy's like skeevy, that's like trying to sell it to you, everything is like a hoopty and falling apart, and you are definitely happier with your car than anything that's on the lot there, then stay on the course and look for what you really want, right? What do you really want? And if maybe you're at work, right? And your day-to-day can get a little draining and exhausting. One thing, do you really want that job? Is it really like lighting you up? Are you happy with it? Are you looking for something different? If you do really like your job but it's draining and it's like, hard on you, what is it that you're focusing on? Are you focusing on the hardships on a regular basis? Or are you focusing on your successes? Because I'm pretty sure that there's both happening. I've worked in sales for a long time, and sometimes I find, whether it's like me, whether it's my team, whatever, we can get real focused on the things that didn't go our way. And I think it's important to, take a look at the things that didn't go our way so we can change up and make small changes so that in the future, the things will more likely go in our favor. But also not like hyper focus on it to the point where it's the only thing we talk about. It's like the only thing that we focus on. It's the only thing that's really driving us, is like you're driven by the fear of that repeating itself rather than the excitement for making the sale, excitement for changing someone's life, the excitement for selling some wine, whatever it is, right? Like you're focusing in on not failing rather than focusing in on what actually brought you to it, what actually made you excited, what actually fires you up about what you're doing. Right? And you can apply this to any job, any role, any whatever. I just have my most recent experience is like with sales. So how are you distracting yourself from what your goal is? Love, career, family, whatever. Whether it's bad news from doctors, lawyers, whoever. And it's their beliefs, right? I don't know, like I said family, and it like immediately made me think of like people who are struggling to have children. And while that is not my experience, I have witnessed it in other people. I've also, watched a bunch of movies where like that might be the big part of the conflict of the story and the relationship, whatever. And while, yes, it might be a part of fiction, there is still some truth behind the story. I feel like most writers tend to write something that they know about, right? So someone somewhere was impacted by the story and found an outlet to share it. With that being said, I've also heard of so many miracles happening where, the doctor said that you only had 1 year to live, or, you can never have your own children biologically. You can never do this, that, and the other. But the next thing you know, there's this new trial, there's always a sense of hope. And maybe what happens isn't exactly what you want. Maybe it does turn to adoption. It does turn to a different desire. But also, it doesn't mean that we are less than. It doesn't mean that we have to change our desire. We might change the way we get it, but we can still want for ourselves. We can still dream for ourselves. We can still move forward. We can still prepare. We can still see how we can inspire and change the world through our own personal circumstance. That's what I like to do here, sharing my own personal stories and my own personal experiences and how I've worked on my own self-awareness and how I've moved forward within it and made shifts and changes to better align with what it is that I desire and what it is that brings me joy. Joy is my driver, happiness, fulfillment, love. These are the things that I aim to be closer to. And I also aim to be at peace. In the moments of turmoil and craziness, I aim to be at peace. Like, for example, the other day I started to feel like a tickle in my throat, and I was like, oh no, this is like the beginning of an illness. There's something within me, right? And so I'm like going full herbal lady with like the resources that I had, from like salts, gargling, hot salt water, which helps clear anything and like the bacteria that's in the back of your throat. It's also just soothing for when you are having that kind of experience, and upping my vitamin C. So I happened to have some oranges and some lemons available, so I sliced them up and put them in a pot of boiling water, added a little salt to that too, because again, salt is clearing, and sipped on that all day. I allowed myself, it's a day off, I allowed myself to take a nap all day. Like there was no need to chase a what do you call it? No need to chase like having to do something or an Instagrammable moment or anything like that. Like, I was able to really sit and reflect, and it reminded me that it's okay to be at peace. I don't have to constantly be taking pictures and doing whatever. I can hermit for a bit. I can sit for a bit. And it gave me the time to really reflect on what do I really want to experience, right? I said I had gotten a little nervous about the distraction cards that I pulled up. And then in that moment, I was like, hold up. What am I being distracted from? And I immediately had gone to, okay, like maybe I don't want what I want. Like maybe that's what it's telling me, that my desires are wrong. And there's something to be said about the fact that like I can, one, just like immediately take that as like my first thought is like, oh gosh, what if I don't desire this? And I am now distracted. But then I was like, no. I sat, I thought about it, I was doing visualizations, like, how does this make me feel? And I really slowed down and I really thought about like, okay, what is really exciting me? What am I really loving about the idea of like living on a winery and vineyard and farm and being more self-sustainable, teaching others to do the same, teaching others mindfulness and teaching others, belief and trust in themselves. Like, how does that all make me feel? And how does it make me feel to bring someone else into that circle? Like finding a life partner that's willing to like be a part of that whole thing, like making this living, right? Living this business, living this life, right? You know, the things that I already do that I make a part of my life, not because I have to do it, but because I enjoy it, and turning that into a business and whatever, and a lifestyle, and sharing it with others and thriving from it. Yeah, that feels good. That feels like awesome. So that's obviously not the distraction. The distraction is when maybe someone else is like, that's kind of impossible. Or someone else is saying, well, you should do this with your business. Like, I think that you're really good at X, Y, and Z, so you should do X, Y, and Z. And yeah, you know what? I am aware that I'm good at a lot of things. Like, I am coming to a place where I can fully say that I'm really good at a lot of things. And it does not mean that I have to do all of those things. I'm also really good at listening and taking advice and coaching. I'm a great actor, right? Like, I am really good at implementing what others say. That being said, I don't implement what everybody else says. Like, that can be a distraction from what it is that I'm trying to do and what it is I'm trying to build for myself. And I'm going to remove the word try. What it is that I am doing and what it is that I am building for myself. You know, like I think back to business coaching, right? There's so many business coaches out there and there's so many strategies out there. And while I think it's important to have a strategy when you're building and not even building, maintaining and growing, like a strategy throughout, I think it's really important that if you have a business, if you're trying to sell, if you are selling things, that you are creating content, you're putting yourself out there, you're spreading the word, whether it's by word of mouth, social media, whatever, to bring more eyes and bring more awareness to what magic you have going on that's transformative for other people's lives, that bring joy to other people's lives, that excite other people, whatever it is, right? With that being said, not everybody's like process and strategy works for everybody. Some people, like, there are some people that are so prevalent, like they're probably creating content all day, every day or whatever. And there's like almost like no space for living. Like, I think about, like, I'm in LA, right? Like, I live in LA and I can go to a restaurant and look at like the amount of people when plates just like sit down and like take pictures or whatever. And a lot of them aren't even like, people aren't even like social media gurus or influencers or whatever. It's just like become a part of culture that like there's a solid 10, maybe not 10 minutes, but there's like a solid 2 minutes before starting to eat. Like, even like I have a friend that's like, right, who needs to take pictures before I take a sip of my drink because it came out with like flowers and whatever, or who needs to like, what do we need to do before I can like actually start enjoying and like living in this moment rather than like capturing this moment. And while there's nothing wrong with it, yes, I take pictures of my drinks and I take pictures of my food. Not all the time, but like a lot of times, especially if it's like something like really, I feel like that it's special and it's fun and I want to share it with others. But all that tends to be a distraction from actually living. And so when it comes, for me at least, in my mindset, I love to create content. Obviously, I create like 20 plus minute podcasts on a regular basis. I like show what I'm doing on social media quite regularly, but I'm not doing it all day, every day, because that doesn't fit my lifestyle. I want to create a strategy. I am living in a strategy that allows space for actually living. That is what works for me, right? I am creating the life that allows space for actually living. I'm creating a business that incorporates me actually living in it, right? I know for me, what has like exhausted me about the corporate world is that one, most of the stuff, like I support it and it's like, you know, I believe that it is good work. It doesn't necessarily bring me the joy that I need to like be sustainable. And also like sitting behind a desk for 8 to 10 hours, 5 days a week also doesn't feel like living, right? You know, that's 50 plus hours every single week that I am taken away from, I don't know, going on walks, meeting new people, walking through the market, gardening, doing all this stuff. Like, when did the world shift from living to working? And like working and being in a space that is so mentally, physically, etc., draining. That's what I have witnessed in a lot of people, is that a lot of people are distracted by the society that we live in. The have tos versus the want tos, right? And the inability to be able to see how we can make it easier, make it simple, make it fun, make it fulfilling. It's just like the concept and the mindset is grind to survive, not even to thrive, grind to survive. And it's distracting. So with that, I really, really, really encourage you to take a look at your life. Take a look at what it is that truly makes you excited, truly makes you happy. How can you truly live every single day doing things that you love, doing things that inspire you, doing things that encourage you, doing things that fill your cup so it is so overflowing you can't help but help fill others? How do we align with living a simpler life? How do we align with everybody truly thriving, being fulfilled, being at peace, being happy, being at home? That is what home feels like to me, at peace. It feels like peace and love and joy. It feels like thriving and living all at the same time. And I invite you, if you have not checked out the home membership, to give it a look, because that is where I lend my personal support to you, help guide you to come back home to yourself, understand who you are, what you want, where you want to go, and ways to get you there. So come on home, friend. And with that, I say have a magical day. Please like, share, and subscribe this podcast, and I'll talk to you on the next one.